In this video, I'm going to cover the next variation on a sapper attack. This was typically what I found was done to larger areas like air bases or supply depots or the harbor facilities. Now the defenses around these were usually very thick. They were very well constructed. There was a lot of guards. But the sappers still needed to get inside and cause damage. So what they would do is they would tunnel into them. It could be from underneath a building outside the perimeter, or it could be from inside the jungle somewhere. They would have multiple tunnels coming in. Now, when the attacks would happen, they would try to cover it with mortar or rocket barrages, like I mentioned in the previous video, so that the enemy would not realize that the sappers were getting inside the perimeter. So I'll put in some potential tunnels here. It'll come in from the outside somewhere. Now, something I came across in accounts from the communist sappers when they were questioned about what they would do. They would tunnel their way in. They would have a specific location they would shoot for. When they got there, they would break through at night. They would have a cover already made, or mostly made. They would finish the final preparations on it once they were inside. One thing that they would do is camouflage the entrance with garbage cans. Something that one sapper said is, you know, the American troops were not very observant when they're inside these base camps. They wouldn't notice that a garbage can was moved 10 feet or from one side of the road to the other side of the road. Well, when it got moved, it was being used to camouflage entrance to a tunnel exit. Now when the sapper attack would happen, they would come through the tunnel during the night, check, make sure no one's in the area, exit the tunnel, set up, say, satchel charges on the fuel dump here. They would slip back inside and then head out. And they would have a prearranged mortar or rocket barrage that would land generally in that area at about the time the satchel charges would start going off. They would try to time it so that the mortars and the rockets would be fired and land before the satchel charges would go off. Another thing they would do is they would come through the tunnel, maybe damage some of the aircraft next to the runway. Put charges inside there, same thing. Rockets would go off and then, holy crap, they fired 10 rockets and 6 of them were dead on and took out 6 aircraft. Well, in actuality, they only fired 4 rockets and the other 6 were satchel charges taking out the aircraft. Another common thing they would do is tunnel into the ammo depots, right into them, and they would come out every so often, every few nights, and they would steal the ammunition. They would grab the cases of grenades, cases of law rockets, cases of claymores, whatever, and they would pass them down into the tunnel and people would take them out. And that's one of the ways they would supply themselves. Then they would cover up the tunnel when they're done, and the American or South Vietnamese or Australian or whoever troops that were in charge of that dump wouldn't even notice it's gone. They may consider it that a few cases were taken and someone did not log them correctly in their inventory. It's pretty ingenious on how they came up with ways to get around our defenses. You know, the troops that were on the major bases, they thought they were secured behind the wire, behind the mines, behind the MPs, behind the infantry. And they didn't even realize that the enemy was literally right underneath them. That the enemy could get to them just as easily as they could if they were out on a fire base. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and Militia movement, always remember, essayons.